Hey, welcome to All About the Game. My name is Todd Blyleven. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike Micucci. 10th show.
What's up, Todd? Can't believe it.
It's awesome.
Like
Yeah.
you said, who would have thought?
Who, who would have thought somebody would want to listen to you and I?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. And today we have Nick Caringi coming on. He's been in charge of their training and player development, baseball, softball for Little League, international. And he's the guy that you see in the, during the game, they go to let's go to New York. Well, really they're going to Nick, and he's looking at the rules but just a really cool guy. And I had an opportunity through a company I was working for to do some instructional video for Little League and this other company. So I was back there in Williamsport on the field, working with Nick's son, Kyle, and his daughter was doing the softball stuff for us. And just a cool family vibe. And I mean, of course you're there at the Little League World Series. So I had to hit a home run, right? And I had to run the bases. And there I am, like 6'5", just jumping around. They're looking at me like the camera crew's like, what's he doing?
High-fiving as you're going around.
Yeah, it was fun. But
that's, you say that and we're all laughing, but that's where it all starts, and it starts in Little League. That's where you kind of develop your love for the game and you kind of learn in the thing, but you're just going out there playing and having fun. And I think it's really good. And you have all these select teams going on now. These kids are playing really competitive baseball, like all year long. You're seeing some of the injury levels and some of the surgeries, are more than half of TJ surgeries are in high school, 58% of them or whatever. So it's just going back to where the game's really pure. This is good. And he's got a lot of good things that they're trying to do, new and innovative things that they're trying to do over there that I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, it's been, a lot of fun watching Little League grow, how they've been able to adjust to the travel ball industry and maintain, that fun, safe environment for kids to really just go learn the game and have a good time. And they've got some new programs we're going to mention on the air here with Nick coming up that I think are game changers in some respect with what they're doing and bringing back old school baseball, which I think is so needed, like you just mentioned, with too many kids getting injured and not having just the ability to go out and have fun playing and not always competitive play. So
playing wiffle ball in your backyard,
Yeah. So, hey, I notice you've got some new colors going on with your gear.
The new stuff kind of came in. We're kind of happy with it. We were thinking about doing something a little bit lighter for the summer. Got a bunch of calls from some buddies that I, obviously played with or teammates of mine or coached, friends back home, in New Jersey or whatever. So we've been mailing some stuff out and some guys been putting their orders in here and there. And then, obviously it's the product lines up at Pastime here in Frisco, Texas, where you can kind of, if you needed to go in and pick it up there. But, there's people just kind of emailing, Mike Micucci Baseball at gmail.com and, seeing it on social media or whatever and just kind of contacting and then, send the address and we'll send it out.
Well, it's a cool logo. That's what Dylan said. Dylan goes, hey, Mike's that's a cool logo.
Yeah, we were happy with it. So, and then a lot of people have kind of said the same thing. They kind of like the way it looks. So that was kind of
awesome.
We're lucky with it. We've been really lucky.
Well, yeah, we're all lucky right now. We get a chance to talk baseball and,
You watching any of the games?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's good to see baseball being played again. It's good to see the competitive play.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the crowds. I'm not.
They finally started to pipe in some noise though.
Yeah.
The first game was like watching a spring training game.
Right.
Like on the B games that you see on the backfield when there's, and you get like but now they're starting to like pipe in the organs and the noise and some music and it sounds like, at least on TV, that there's fans in there.
Yeah.
And you can see them starting to get after it a little bit. The old Dodger, Houston. They didn't forget.
Exactly.
They didn't forget.
Yeah. It's been
DirecTV. I don't know, but I have DirecTV, so the first weekend's like free. You get every single game, on that package. So I'm flipping back and forth. I got like the screen going on. Yeah.
You went out and bought TVs just so you can put them up.
Yeah, I got the little guy, Andrew sitting there. He's like, "Oh, baseball started again."
Yes, it did. I'm pumped.
Look, how great is this? He's like, "Yeah, it's great."
It's funny. Yeah, it's good to see it back, and I'm looking forward to as we kind of get into the latter part of the season, and
I hope it stays. You saw what happened with the Marlins, Phillies, a couple of outbreaks like that. And who knows, but
yeah. Well, hopefully that passes, and we just get back to enjoying the game and get all this drama. That's what people need, I think. Just get their minds away from what's going on out there. So. But hey, let's if you're ready, I just saw Nick just join us in the waiting room. So
let's do it.
Let's get this party started. Hey, welcome back to All About the Game. My name is Todd Blyleven. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike Micucci. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Todd. What's up?
Good. And we have a very special guest, a longtime friend of mine I've known in the industry for years, Nick Caringi from Little League Baseball and Softball. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Welcome,
Thanks,
Nick.
Todd. Mike, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Mike, so back, I don't even know how many years ago, let's say it was 10 years ago, just to keep it even, since it's our 10th show. So congratulations, we've lasted this long. But got a chance to meet Nick through some business type ventures, partnering with Little League Baseball and Softball, and had the opportunity to go down to the stadium in Williamsport and be a part of that whole World Series adventure and journey. And I'm telling you, I mean, I get goosebumps right now. I just remember the joy in the kids' faces, the fans that rolled in, and Nick and his team, they just do an amazing job. So Nick, I wanted to kind of give you the floor a little bit. Talk to us about, your journey through, where you're at, getting into Little League, and then, what you've been doing over the years. I mean, Mike, Nick's the guy that when there's a questionable call, they're going to Nick. Nick's the guy on the computer. He's, going through all the rule books and stuff. But give us a little 411 on you, Nick.
New York in the
Well, I'll tell you that it's you talk about the replay process. It's not a way I want to be on television. So, but first of all, before I get started, I want to thank both of you for having me. It's I've been watching a number of your podcasts. They're great. It's great information, entertaining. So to be asked to be on it is I'm really thrilled and humbled, actually. The only thing I'm not humbled about is that you guys have all of these nice memorabilia behind you. And I've got a shirt that's hanging back here and a bunch of stuff from my family, which is fine. And I promise you, if you have me on again, I'll have a nice backdrop for you. Maybe I'll put Lombardi Stadium behind me, and we'll go from there. But to answer your question about, how I got involved, I'm from Williamsport, so I really knew what Little League Baseball was all about, being a player and, enjoying that experience in the community. I went on to college to play baseball and was an education major, and I wanted to coach, and that was my goal. So part of that was I would come back here and work our baseball camps at Little League. And I think I did that for, at least 7 years, maybe 8 years. And I just fell in love with the program and helping kids. So there was one day during camp when I graduated and I was living in Syracuse, teaching school and coaching baseball. And Pat Wilson, who's now the senior vice president of operations, came down to my table while I was sitting in the dining hall eating, in between sessions. And Pat and I go way back. We grew up together. And Pat asked if I was interested in interviewing for a position with the organization. Now, I got to tell you guys, I'm sitting there in shorts and a T-shirt eating a taco or whatever it was. And I was kind of taken back by it. I'm like, yeah, sure. So we did that. So I walked up with Pat and we met with Joe Losh, and we talked about an opportunity that at that time was in Bristol, Connecticut. And I interviewed for the assistant director position. And the rest kind of fell into place in kind of his history, right? So I think from my knowledge about baseball and learning about softball and my education background, it kind of was a fit. And then I just started to progress through the organization. And it's not really about me, but it was about what the opportunities were to make the organization better. We've done a lot of things with coaches and managers and now umpires. But for me, it was, it's like people talk about, I go to work, but it's not work. It's like a passion. So for me, it's like I wake up every morning and I have this passion to help kids play baseball and softball and enjoy, what I've experienced from it, which is, the teamwork aspect and learning to deal with failure, because you're not going to hit a baseball every time. You're not going to throw a strike every time. Yeah. You're not going to win every time. So it's those teamwork aspects that really drew me towards wanting to be part of the organization. And then from that, just the family of employees and volunteers and the people that you meet, like Todd, through a business relationship. We've had a great relationship over the past 10 years and frequently check in with each other. And not about business, just about how everybody's doing. And so those relationships really what drew me to the organization. And then, we deal with challenges every day. But then you have the COVID-19 challenge, which I think we're all dealing with globally. But it's amazing how our team got together to kind of address this and make sure that we're making the opportunities for local communities to play. So, that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I started as a coach. I played baseball at St. Bonaventure and was a pitcher, and then ended up being involved in baseball a little more in a different aspect. And, the passion for the game that I have, I won't say it's unmatched because there's a lot of people that have that passion, but just the passion of the things that I've learned from the sport about life has really been helpful for me. I've learned that, you're not going to win every game. I've learned to deal with failure in some regards, and then how to get better. So, yeah. That's kind of a nutshell, but listen, and to have the opportunity to talk to you two and in a venue like this, it's great. And this is what I live for.
Well, Nick, Little League's where it all starts.
Yeah.
And it's really important. Some of my fondest memories were playing Little League Baseball.
Yeah.
I remember riding my bike down to the field, and then getting there with your teammates, and you're just playing and you're having fun and you're trying to learn the game a little bit, but you're not even thinking about that stuff. You're just trying to go out there and have some fun and play. And then, one thing kind of leads to another. I've also seen it on the flip side, like some of my dearest friends that didn't enjoy it, and whatever reason, then all of a sudden they don't play anymore or whatever. And I think it's really important for our sport, the growth of our sport, to just make sure it's fun.
Yeah.
Kids
Well, and you mentioned that too. I mean, here's some of my fondest memories are not kind of baseball related, right? I'm at the ballpark. I'm at the park, and our team's not playing, and we just finished practice, and we're playing wall ball, or we're playing something on a spare field.
Yeah.
After a game, I go to the concession stand, and you have that feeling. I saw my mother in the concession stand work because she had to work certain days, and when you go up to that window, you look at it, you look at her, and you have a sense of pride, right? So, those things are the things that I always remember. I remember the equipment guy, and back when I played, and maybe when you guys did too, we used wooden bats. Mm-hmm. So we broke a couple, and you know what? The equipment guy would walk around like Santa Claus, and he'd come to your practice and say, all right, here's a 28. And we would all go crazy. Those are the things that I remember,
I remember the sport of the game. I love Little League baseball. I mean, it was the time when, like Mike, you said, you'd ride your bike down, you'd have your uniform all up, and you showed up ready to play. And then before your game, you're playing wiffle ball or baseball, something on the other field. And then you get your
after.
What about the ticket you get after the game, and you get to go to the snack bar and get your chili billy, or you get your big stick, or whatever, your hot dog, and you're there sitting there eating with your pals.
One of my best friends, and right after the game, chili dogs, here we go.
Yeah, I got to tell you, locally in Williamsport, I played Little League, and we would play All-Stars, and we always played Montoursville Little League. Well, Montoursville has a very famous, now Hall of Famer, Mike Messina. And he and I would pitch against each other throughout the course of our youth, even Little League and then through high school.
Right.
But I have to tell you that he was the real deal in Little League too.
Yeah.
He was the real deal. He was just that impressive. And it's funny because he and I have a pretty good relationship now. We didn't talk much when we were younger because I think we were both involved in a lot of different sports. And but now when his kids have gone through Little League and he has a rule question, he'll text me, and we'll kind of talk about rules over our texts. And then sometimes when I have a question about something, I'll if I'm working with Kyle one night and I have a question about something, here's what it was. It was long toss, and I you read so much about different people's philosophies on long toss for pitchers, and I just said, you know what, I got a Hall of Famer on my phone. I'm going to text him, and I'm going to see what his thoughts are. And he was very gracious because we have that type of relationship, and he walked me through what he thought about long toss, which was and it was helpful. So we have that relationship, but without Little League, we wouldn't have that relationship.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's one of those things it's amazing about the program and about the sport.
Well, you touch on, some of those finite kind of details about Little League baseball, what made it so much fun. And you look at the rules that Little League has established over the years to keep it fun, to keep it on a level playing field for every athlete to go out and compete, get participation time. We talk about it on the show. Mike and I have talked about it personally on how fast our kids, my son Dylan, your son Kyle, have had to grow up in this game and all the pressures that have been put on these kids. Mike's got kids too that in other sports and playing baseball, like it's just too much. And you go back to when we were playing, we're talking about riding our bikes down to the field and eating chili billies.
Yeah.
And we played, we both played pro ball and we've had a long career in the game. We've all played. And so the one thing I really love about Little League, and I got an opportunity, Mike, when I was back there visiting their team with Steve and Pat and Liz. And when Nick says it's like a family atmosphere, I mean, their offices are looking down at the beautiful World Series fields where ESPN's covering all these things. So they're spoiled, number one. But number two, when you walk into that venue, you automatically feel like you're part of their family. They're
Right.
taking you out to dinner. They're talking about, your kids, and it's just a great feeling. It makes you feel like how you felt when you played baseball. I just wish that more kids, more families would allow their players to continue to allow their players to have that Little League experience.
That was my first summer in pro ball, was Williamsport.
Oh, okay.
We played
Wow.
there. That was
Did
my
you really?
my
Okay.
wet. Yeah, it was my short season team. Two of my buddies, like before a game one day, I'm like, man, we got to go over to the stadium and check it out. I mean, it's the Little League World Series or whatever. And they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the Little League World Series. Like,
Yeah.
we're here. It's in our backyard. It's something that you got to say you want to say. So we drove around,
Uh-huh.
went up, kind of looked around the park or whatever. But then as soon as the World Series begins, we get shipped out of town,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
2 weeks when the mayhem comes. But yeah, I remember that distinctly. To go back to your point, Todd, when we were, kids today, the sport, all sports, not just baseball, but it's almost like they're getting professionalized so young. They're starting really, really young, but then coaches, high schools, middle school coaches here in Texas, are discouraging players from playing different sports and doing this and doing that. And like, that's where you learn your athleticism from. That's where you learn,
Absolutely.
different movement patterns, all these things, from being able to play football or basketball or wrestle or play lacrosse or do all these other different sports that are out there, soccer and field hockey, or whatever it is. You learn different things that ultimately get there, but they just like, nope, he plays fall, he plays in the spring, he plays summer. You look up at the end of the year, he's 10 years old. He's played like 80 something games that his body isn't even close to being prepared to be able to do.
Competitive games. Yeah.
Competitive games. Yeah.
Competitive games. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So you guys have a program, Nick, that you guys have started or you're launching called Sandlot Fun Days. And you shared a little bit on that, and I read on it. I think it's amazing. Can you give us some insight? Yeah.
So Sandlot Fun Days. It's a program that, it's not a new concept because kids do this all the time. But we've found that, if you allow kids to just kind of handle themselves. Now the program, we have some adult supervision around it, but it's really just encouraging kids to just play. So they walk onto the field, they pick their own teams, they figure out who the umpires are, they call balls and strikes themselves, they settle disputes themselves, they have fun, and you'd be amazed that the parents enjoy that a little more than actual games because there's no pressure.
No pressure.
There's no pressure. They don't come in uniforms, and what it does is it allows us as an organization to promote, some healthy play and get more kids involved. Maybe there are kids that aren't in the league that, a buddy says, listen, come play. Let's see what this is all about. And they can come in and play in a Sandlot game, a few registration things. But other than that, it's really open play. So right now, that's really important, obviously, with what we're dealing with the pandemic. There are a lot of leagues that are operating in a limited capacity. And there are some leagues that are saying, listen, we just want to do the Sandlot thing because we're not sure we're going to have enough teams. Parents may not be comfortable sending their kids to a certain area. But as long as leagues follow their state protocols, this is an acceptable option. And kids love it. I equate it to recess when you were in elementary school. You go out to recess, you've got 20 minutes. That's it. So you and your classmates have to go out. You have to form teams. You have to figure out who's going to be the pitcher for kickball. And you've got to play and finish in the 20-minute recess time because every second is precious of that recess time.
Oh, yeah.
So they all do it themselves. And it's really just an extension of, listen, we have an opportunity to go to the ballpark and play without any pressures of, oh, my gosh, my dad's going to yell at me when on the car ride home because I struck out 3 times, or having those pressures of maybe parents or even, it's funny because even peers, they don't give each other pressure because it's more of of a playful time. And actually, Mike, to your point of athleticism, you know what? Now I got a chance to play shortstop when I've never really played shortstop before. And I want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I want to do my best Derek Jeter and see if I can do that.
Yeah, and you get a lot less arguments. Kids kind of know. Oh, you were out. You know what? I think I was. You're right.
They figure it out.
There's none. Yeah, they just figure it out.
They
Like
figure it
when we
out.
were kids, we'd go down and play all day. Now I understand it's really hard to just like trust your kid with what goes on in the world today, to just go to some field and play for 8 hours. And hey, dinner time's at 6. Come on home. Make sure you're home by then. And like when we were kids. So I understand like that's really hard to do now. But to your point, a kid can't play shortstop. I have a 16U team. I move my players all over the field, and I tell them it's really important for them. One of my kids came up to me. He plays second base. I never played third base before. I said, "You play second, don't you?" "Yeah." I said, "It's a ground ball. It's just over there."
Yeah, right. That's all it is, right?
Yeah, but Sandlot Baseball is where you get to dream and reenact your favorite players. I remember I used to want to be Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Even though it was what it was, and I wanted to be Ricky Henderson on the base bat, and I thought I was. Like I would get down and I'd be like Ricky, even though I was pulling a trailer as I ran.
Yeah, me too.
There's no pressure, there's no expectations, and I could see where the parents. When we played Sandlot Baseball, we never had our parents at the gate telling us what to do. We just were playing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great concept all the way across the country.
Listen, what you talk about is really true. I mean, how many of us got in the batter's box and said, "All right, I'm going to bat like Thurman Munson right now," or you know what, I'm going to do Rory White or Joe Morgan. I'm going to do this thing with the elbow, because they're trying to emulate their heroes and trying to be, and that's part of dreaming, and that's part of, me myself, Todd. I wanted to be Bert Blyleven, but I wasn't very good at doing it. Obviously, you were. But my point is that you're right. It gives you an opportunity to, and without a coach saying, "What are you doing? What are you batting that way for?"
Right.
It lets them play.
Yeah.
So it's fun. We've got good reviews on it, and more leagues are starting to do it, and we're really excited about that. We're going to try to do more to promote it, because a lot of leagues, aren't sure of how to do it. And, I will tell you that Dan Velt on our team has done a great job with it. So we're going to do more to promote that.
And you have some new things out there, like alternate type play things that talk a little bit about that.
So one of the things that again, our operations teams we're trying to find ways to make the game a little more, pace of play is one thing, right? So I agree that there's a pace of play, could be a pace of play issue. But in our minor leagues, we're trying to find ways to make it a little more exciting and a little more fun. So a couple alternate methods. You could start with a runner on first and second base, and instantly there's a little bit of pressure on the pitcher. There's a little, and you'll find that with some of the players that happens with, they instantly kind of start talking to themselves and say, "All right, runners on first and second." They start, verbalizing what they need to do with the ball, and it makes it a little more interesting, right? Starting with a 1-1 count, and we've all had practices where we've done the 27 out drills before. We've all done those,
right?
Where you start with a certain count, but it's just a way to make it a little more interesting, and especially at our minor league level. We've had some major divisions levels do it, but our minor leagues, it's something that we've introduced and has been viewed pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I think it creates some different situations too for kids. I mean, honestly, you can hit at a certain part of the lineup. You could play for a whole summer. You can play 4 games on a weekend as a 10 to 12-year-old and go through the summer and probably maybe get 10 at-bats where you had guys on base.
Right.
Right.
And it's just a different way to look at the game and try to create some excitement. And it's, again, Danny and his team have done a great job in organizing that. And is it a pace of play issue? I don't know. I mean, maybe you could look at that. It might save 3 minutes or 10 minutes, but that's really not the reason. I mean, the reason is really to make it a little more exciting.
We did it in the minor leagues. It was like something we would do in instructional league. You start with guys on base, you know.
Yeah.
You have to think: are you going to bunt in this situation? Are you going to do this? You know, just to get them to be in different situations. You know, to do
Learn
stuff.
the game of baseball.
Learn the game. Exactly.
Yeah,
Just
learn the game of baseball. And, you know, starting with a 1-1 count, that's not easy as a hitter, especially at the young age, because there's too many kids that go up and they take the first pitch, take the second pitch anyways.
Right.
So now when they go up 1-1 and they take that first pitch and they're down 1-2, now they're in this fighting spot. So it's unfamiliar, which I think is good. It creates a really good game time pressure to it that you learn and you're educated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that. I could see where the game would speed up a little bit due to it, but Little League rules too, where you can't lead off. I think that alleviates the pressure of a kid having to always pitch from the stretch position. They can still go from a full windup.
Yeah.
Plus the batters too. I mean, imagine every time you get up, it's start an inning off, you got runners in scoring position. I got a chance to not to run it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Get me another ticket for my Chili Billy.
Yeah.
Another Chili Billy.
Yeah. When I was back there, Mike, we had an opportunity to do some instructional videos for Little League, and we were working with another company as well. And it was awesome to, number one, be on the field and work with Nick and his team on the education of the game, whether it was hitting or pitching or fielding. We also were able to do some softball, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But the detail of instruction and how Little League baseball and softball have really been the at the forefront of player development, player safety, I think it's been really cool to watch over the years. I mean, it's been 10 years since we did that.
Yeah.
But over the years, we've just watched this. Now, I got to give Kyle some credit here and some airtime. So here's little Kyle. He's 10 years old, Nick's son, left-handed pitcher, just this beast on the mound, and he's dominant, good mechanics.
Yeah.
I'm not like, this kid's too good to be on the camera, but so I haven't seen him really pitch in a few years. We send videos. So Nick sent me a video the other day. He's up to 87, 88. Tell us a little bit about what Kyle's doing now.
So Kyle is Kyle plays for St. Bonaventure University, which is where I went. He's on their pitching staff, and he's a freshman, or was a freshman last year, and was starting to see some time. And obviously the pandemic hit. So he came home, and right away we were thinking, because he was scheduled to go play in a collegiate league in New York State for the summer. And I knew right away, as soon as they sent the kids home for the spring, that collegiate league's probably not going to happen based on where we were at that time. So he came home, and he was, he sat down. And again, he's, Todd, to stand next to him, he's 6'2" now, which is much taller than I am. Thank God he has his mother's side of the family in terms of the height. But we sat down and we said, well, what are we going to do? And, I know enough, Todd and I joke, I know enough pitching to be dangerous, but not enough to know as much, right? So being a pitcher myself and studying some things, and with the help of Todd. So I said to him, listen, we've got to make the best of where we are. So we created a program that we've utilized some tools and some workout routines, and scheduled a bullpen every Sunday, maybe a few live sessions to live hitters. But, the thing with me is I've never, whether it's Kyle or my daughter, Caitlin, I never wanted to be the one to say, okay, Caitlin, let's go grab the bat and go in the cage. All right, Kyle, we got to go toss. It's always been them asking me, which has been helpful because I don't provide that pressure. They Caitlin played softball at St. Bonaventure as well. I mean, my wife went to Bonaventure, so we're all going. I mean, they're going to name something for me there. I don't know what that.
Now to go anywhere else.
I don't know if that's going to be a porta-john or if it's going to be something, but but the point is they really enjoyed their craft, right? Caitlin enjoyed her craft of hitting, playing softball, and Kyle enjoys his craft of pitching. And he's always looking at videos. He's always trying to educate himself. And I tell him sometimes, I said, sometimes you can clutter yourself a little much. You know, you have good mechanics. Let's not tinker as much as you need to tinker. But I can tell you those first few days with Todd 10 years ago when we were shooting, had all the video cameras out and we were shooting video, and he was really impressed, and he enjoyed Todd's company, and really, he's a good kid. He's a good kid, and he has dreams, as most kids do. And I just tell him that, take the time now to invest in those dreams and do your best to educate yourself and work towards them, because you don't want to ever look back and say, well, maybe if I would have done this or have done that, I could have. And it's the same thing. And we have this little genre in our household. And when I say this, my wife always rolls her eyes. There's only two things you can control. You can control your effort and your attitude. Those are the only two things you can control. And that's with baseball, it's with softball, that's with life, that's with work, that's with, anything that, I try to teach them. If you have, great effort and you're putting effort towards trying to get better, whether it's being a better marketer, whether it's being a better pitcher or a softball player or whatever, you have to put the effort towards it. And secondly, you have to have a good attitude towards it. You can't have a negative attitude. You have to have a positive attitude that you want to get better, and you create your team around you that has positive vibes. And those are really the only two things you can control. Outside of that, you can't control whether it rains or not.
You say the same exact thing to my team.
Awesome.
I can't control whether I can get your bullpen in on Sunday or not because it's raining. I can't control that. Mm-hmm. Or, you have to put the effort in. So, those are the two things that we talk about. And with Kyle, he's really a student of the game. It's funny because last night we just had a little workout, but he wanted to finish because he wanted to come back and watch the Yankees-Orioles because Garrett Cole was pitching. Mm-hmm. So, very, very enthusiastic. He says, we were playing catch and he was doing some drills. He said, I'm done. I'm like, really? No, I'm done. Let's go. And I knew he wanted to get back, and he always sits in my chair at home. So pushes me out to another room, but, I love him for it. But he's doing really well. And Todd, I sent you a video, and I think what I'll do is I'll try to look for a picture of when he was doing those videos before, and I'll send that to you.
Oh, that would be
awesome. You can see how he's changed. But
if you have something that you're passionate about, it never feels like work.
Right.
Pretty much always have a pretty good attitude because it's something that you really enjoy doing. Yeah. You don't have to drag them off the couch to go do it. It's something that they want to do. So I try and teach my children that and talk to them about, find something that they're passionate about doing.
And the one thing I love about him is that he's so humble. And my wife and I tease each other about this all the time. It always seems that throughout the course of his playing career, whether it was Little League or he was playing 13 to 15 and high school, it always seemed that when the chips were on the line, they would put Kyle on the mound, right? And while you look at that as a coach and as a baseball person, you say, wow, they have a lot of confidence in him to put him in that situation. But as parents, you sit back and you're biting your nails and pacing and walking out to right field, and because you're nervous. Obviously no one wants their kid to do bad, but and every time that would happen, she would look at me and she would say, they did it again. And it's like, well, it's a game, let him enjoy it. And deep down inside, I'm thinking, yeah, they did it again. But he kind of thrives in that. And the biggest thing about him is he's so humble. People will say, hey, you did a great job. I'm like, well, thanks. I'm just, trying to work it out. And, he's not a boastful person. And I think that bodes well for him, not only in the athletic field, but also, when he goes into the professional fields of wherever he wants to pursue, being confident in yourself, being humble, because I keep telling him, I said, people notice and you do what you do, and things will take care of themselves.
You know, it's we talk about our kids, and it's a journey too as a parent, as you learn how to parent your athletes and your kids. And I know before I had met Stephen Keener, you know, I was coming off, I was a major league scout. My job was to identify flaws in a player's mechanics. And here I think we're in Peoria, Mike, and I'm playing catch with Dylan. And Dylan's probably 6, 7. I don't even know. He's young. I mean, the jersey's down at his knees.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just throwing him fly balls, and he's throwing it back. And I think it was my wife that said, you know, made a comment like, "Hey, how come every time he throws the ball back, you're always critiquing his throw?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing that." You know, and I'm throwing the ball back, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I am." Every time, like, "Hey, get your arm up, kid. Get released." And I was taking the fun out of him just playing Sandlot Baseball or playing catch with father-son. So here I am. Fast forward, I'm in Williamsport. We go out and have Italian food with Mr. Keener. It was an awesome experience. And I asked him, because he'd been around, and I think you were there too, Nick, and we were just talking about all the parents and all the kids and everything that they've had an opportunity to be around, listen to the stories, the good parents, the bad parents, in terms of not bad in homes, but just on the baseball field or on the softball field. So I said, "What's the biggest advice that you could give me as a parent with an upcoming, you know, young athlete, the 30-minute rule?" And it was something like that, and I'm probably botching the name of it, but basically it was 30 minutes after the game is over, don't say anything to the athlete. Like, if your son wants to talk about the game, great. Keep it positive. "Hey, great job." Don't start going off on, "Hey, what were you thinking 0-2 when the kid threw that fastball and you sat there and watched it?" You know, what are you doing?
Right.
Just keep it positive for 30 minutes. And I'll tell you, my car rides home with Dylan, when I got home, I put it right into play. My car rides home with Dylan, we were talking. And it was only a 10-minute ride back to the house.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation, and it was wait 48 hours or 24 hours to then go back and say, "Hey, let's talk about your game. Let's talk about your approach. Let's talk about you know, fielding that ground ball a little bit."
Yeah.
But it just gave it time to, like, let the kid have that good, fun moment, and me as a parent to really enjoy that moment after the game with my son. So I'll tell you, Nick, I tell that story. I've probably told it 1,000 times to families on just trying to have that 30
Tell
minutes.
that story enough. Yeah. That's a great advice.
Yeah. So
really
cool.
good advice.
Yeah. But Nick, listen, thank you so much for being on the show. We definitely want to have you back on. There's so much more to talk about. In terms of,
I'd love to.
Especially since you talked about you're going to have a better backdrop.
I will have a better backdrop. I definitely will if you have me on again.
There's some guys, let me tell you, on some of the shows, even I'm like, wow, look at what he's got. Your dad. The glove case. I was looking at that when we were doing the show. I'm like, holy smokes, look at those gloves. Yeah.
He's got 2 World Series trophies that are sitting on his right and left.
Yeah.
And Bogart's got all these jerseys. Even Philip Wellman, like, I couldn't even stop looking at the background.
Well, I know. I mean, he's got I thought it was Mike Trout. It was this lion or whatever he's got behind him that he shot or whatever. But it looks like Mike Trout going over the wall in Baltimore.
Yeah. Well, I won't have any of that. I'll surprise you.
It's good. It's good.
But I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, great catching up. And tell everybody we said hello there, and Kyle too.
I will. Thank you again.
Talk soon, Nick. Thank you.
See you.
Welcome back to All About the Game. Todd Blyleven, my co-host, Mike Micucci. Man, that was cool having Nick on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. I really liked you were talking about the Sandlot play. It just brings me back to times where you're calling your buddies on the phone or the night before, hey, you want to play? We'll meet you down here, whatever. Jump on your bikes, you get down there, you're picking teams, no parents, no umpires, no uniforms. You're just out there playing, and you're figuring it out. And if you didn't have enough players to fill the whole field, you just played one side of the field.
Yeah. Ghost runner.
Yeah. Ghost guy. Yeah. You didn't need to have runners. A single moved them up one. A double moved them up 2 bases. Right? Guys on first, doubled into the gap at second and third.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think it's, you think about, even after we would get done playing Sandlot, you go then play football, or you go to the basketball, court and you go shoot hoops, or kids just don't do that anymore. So what Little League, I think, is trying to do, and I can't speak for them, but from what Nick was saying, they're really trying to bring that really fun, non-competitive, just kind of fun time back to these kids' lives that, you really need that. You got to enjoy the sport.
I remember playing a game we used to call, it was basically called Kill the Carrier. Guy had the football, he'd run around, he'd try and dodge everybody until you tackled him down, then you give up the ball, almost like rugby. Somebody else grabbed it, you just chase it, and all of a sudden it'd be like, hey, the 1 o'clock game's going, and you're like, oh, that's me. You run over to the dugout and you're playing, it's time to go. And it was like, none of this, all right, we got to get out there and have like a little organized practice beforehand and do this. Just really getting out there winging it, and the funny part about that is, you talked about playing in your backyard, trying to emulate different hitters or trying to emulate different fielders or whatever, or he mentioned playing wall ball. I was just talking to my team about the ability to make throws from all these different angles, and the ability that you had to throw from, if you're going to play in the field, especially as an infielder, catcher, and even outfielders have to be able to throw, from sidearm, from underneath, short arm the ball, understand how to flip, how to do shuffle passes, all these things that none of these kids now know how to do because they're always throwing from the same exact slot. It's always so mechanical because they never just go out and flip the ball up against the wall.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, even you look at today's technology, and I know we're getting huge into AI and there's all these pinpoints and everything for those elite athletes that have their game already established. They already know their body. They've gone through what you just said. They've experimented on low 3/4, high 3/4 slots. They've done the Derek Jeter clock drills and learning how to throw from different angles. But now, like, to introduce that into today's youth baseball, it's really tough because you're basically creating robots, and it takes, you learn how, am I going to be a Yelich when I'm playing, or am I going to be a Donaldson and come all the way up? What type of hitter are you going to be? And as a minor league manager and big league coach, how many times do those guys change throughout even the minor league journey before they found
when you're drafting them, you're hoping they're going to change. That's kind of the idea. You have this vision of what they're going to look like. But guys change. Power's the last thing to come. Everybody's chasing it right now.
Yeah.
You're not physically mature enough, learn how to have a good swing, be a good hitter that then goes ahead and develops into those doubles turn into home runs because you've matured physically. And I just think, like, you watch these kids. I said it to one of my guys the other day, just sitting on the bench. I'm like, hey, just go be athletic in the box and hit the ball the other way. And looking at me like, wow, where would I hold I don't care what you do. Just go play wiffle ball in the backyard.
Right.
But get inside something and try and drive it the other way, and just, it's so less in mechanical based type of learning that they have. There's none of that freedom.
No, it's, we talked about parents, with Nick, and I really liked what he was talking about with, just effort and good attitude. And it stems all the way into how we kind of dictate. I took Dylan to the cage the other day, and I mean, you'd be proud of him. He's really been working on his game and trying to do a lot of what you have instilled on him, and especially with his swing. But I haven't really tested him in metrics since January and see where he's at. And he's been getting bigger and stronger. And all of a sudden, his max barrel speed is off the charts and his exit velocity is off the charts. And you can see it because he's hitting home runs, he's driving the ball. But that's his like evolution right now as a player. And he's had to modify his game. If I didn't keep it fun for him or allow him to change a little bit here and there, then he'd be a robot. And, it's just really hard to understand what you can and can't do at that point.
You were even talking about that at the facility the other day. We were sitting there and we were talking. I was talking with Bryce Cummings, the director, over there at Pastime, and with the Dallas Tigers over there. And we were just basically talking about the kid's 12 years old, at 14, he's going to be different. The swing's going to change. Because his body's going to change. And then at 16, it's going to have to, the core things that he's learning now, he'll kind of keep. Right. But, stance is going to look different. Hand position is going to look different, just depending on how he grows up. Some kids at 16 look like Dylan, big and strong and thick, and you can see. And some kids, they look like they're 12 years old at 16 years old, but at 18, they might get it. You never know.
No, and where you learn how to do all those different things and adapt is wiffle ball in the backyard.
Oh yeah.
Sandlot baseball, pickle, kill
in the bases,
kill the carrier.
Kill the carrier, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We can't execute a rundown, right? And everybody's like, well, what's the technique? I'm like, technique, it's pickle in the backyard. There's no technique, you know. You run as fast as you can. When a guy gets close, give up the ball. But they don't do it. It's like, know. So it's it's just a different time, and it's kind of what we're at. I love the idea of kids playing different sports. Go play different sports. Go try and figure some other, just be athletic.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing we did. I know you're doing with your kids. We always try to introduce those different sports to the kids, and now. Dylan's a junior this coming year in high school. He's always wanted to play baseball. He had no desire in playing high school football, but going up to that 8th grade or so, he played flag. Played basketball. He played soccer. Gracie was the same way, and they figured it out. But I'm a huge proponent of that.
Kind of, doing the same thing with Andrew. He's playing flag football. He's playing lacrosse. Both those sports are pretty. The lacrosse is a pretty high speed, sport with a lot of athleticism, hand-eye coordination, and he enjoys it,
Lacrosse, man, you get
it's funny to talk about pace of play because the number one thing I remember when I'm like, I don't know about baseball for Andrew is I'm like, just too slow of a sport for him right now. I'll go teach him how to hit. I'll teach him how to throw. And let him just be a kid. But lacrosse is a little faster pace. And like you said, come on, you get to hit somebody in the head with a stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's legal.
It's legal. Well, Mike, 10th show, we're done.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So looking forward to the next one.
Yes, sir.
It's been a lot of fun. Our guests are really good. And I know got a couple good ones lined up too. I know the schedule hasn't worked out, for a couple guys that we kind of had lined up or whatever, but they're still looking forward to coming on and doing some stuff.
Yeah. Well, on to number 11. So,
So good luck with the doubleheader today and Dylan.
Yeah. I'll tell him. And you too. I know, I think you guys are in that same tourney. So we'll see you out there. Maybe see you Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. We'll have to bring my ace back around.
All right. Hey, have a great rest of your week. And,
you too.
Everybody be safe out there.